Hi guys, it's finally day 20. I am halfway to day 40, and then my 41st day will come. I talked to you yesterday about what I learned from some of the therapy that I'm going through, and the question that it raised was, if you truly believed you were valuable, what would you do? What would you choose in situations or circumstances where you felt that you needed the validation of others, or whatever the situation may be? If you ask yourself that question, how would you act, or what would you do, or what decision would you make? And I actually was feeling pretty good at the start of yesterday because I felt like I had a tool that I could use to help me through and help retrain my brain to not have these feelings of needing validation, needing outside validation, to retraining my brain to know that I had value regardless of any situation or circumstance, and that my situation, circumstance, people that are in my life or not in my life do not affect my value. This is difficult for me. I feel like I am moving step by step into what God wants me to do. It is very, very difficult. I felt yesterday that I was taking steps to move forward. And in my heart, I guess, I had this hope that maybe God was moving things for my good, in that maybe this situation would cause my ex-partner to realize what he had given up, and to help him grow to a place that he needed to get to, and eventually there would be reconciliation. So even though I'm taking steps for myself, my health, my emotional well-being, and to help myself overcome trauma response and emotion, I was hoping that he would also be doing the same thing, so that in the future there could be reconciliation. Unfortunately, I found out yesterday, and I could say that it was due to a mistaken call from a business, but I know that it was God. I inadvertently got a telephone call from a business, and they were asking me if I needed to change my address because my ex had called them to change his address, and they wanted to know if my address also needed to be changed. And they proceeded to tell me the address that he had changed it to. And I politely said, no, that's okay. Please go ahead and do whatever he said for his. But for mine, it will remain the same. Thanks for checking. And I politely hung up the phone. And in that moment, I wanted to be strong. I wanted to use everything that I had learned to this point. The breathing techniques, the tools, and everything that I've been learning through God from the Bible. In my heart, I wanted to be strong enough to use those. But in that moment of emotion, I did not. I threw the phone on my bed and I ran into the bathroom and I screamed to God, I can't do this. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard. But this is too much. This is too much to bear. Why did you tell me this? Because he had changed his address back to his ex-wife's address. After 7 years of a relationship, it took 19 days. And honestly, it took less than that. It just took 19 days for me to become aware. For God to reveal that to me. And I wanted to be strong enough. But I lost it. The emotion of anger, sadness, deceit was overwhelming to me, to a point that I felt like I was just going to explode. I felt like I just wanted to punch something. I called my daughter and I cried. I texted my other daughter and I said, I need you. I didn't say why. She didn't ask. She just immediately came in here. And I couldn't even verbalize what the problem was. She just hugged me and I felt like I was melting. I felt like I was melting in her arms into a puddle of nothing. And all I could do was cry. To the point that I felt like I was moaning from the very depths of my stomach. I could tell that she was shocked, and she just said, "Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And then she asked me, "Does it have to do with him?" And all I could do was shake my head yes. I was so angry. And I know that the Bible says that we can be angry, but we're not supposed to sin. And I can tell you that I wasn't able to obey that in that moment. Even though I wished I was strong enough. I cried out. I cried from the depths of myself. Why? I'm so tired of this happening to me. I cannot do this. And in my anger, I did message him. I told him how I felt. And I wasn't nice. I cussed at him. I told him he was a deceiver, a liar, a manipulator. I told him that he needed to take accountability. And I told him that I hope that his therapy gets him to a place where that he can be honest with himself and other people. And then I pray that one day that he accepts God and he repents of his sins so that none of this will be held against him. Do I feel that I handled this situation in a godly way? No, I sinned. I sinned in my anger. I send in my anger and I let my anger spew out to him, cussing at him. So did I relay Christ in that moment? No. And I'm sorry for that. I felt myself spiraling as if I was almost at day one all over again. I had flashbacks of my past experiences with him, my past experiences in other relationships. And I think that just the anger and hurt from everything and feeling like I never stood up for myself. I do feel like the child inside me feels like no one has ever stood up for me. So even though I decided to use my voice, I still have a lot of growing to do on how to use that voice and how to do things in a godly manner. I also made a post on my Facebook page during this time. I tried to be as matter of fact about everything, because no one other than 3 people that I've chosen knew about these videos, knew about what I was trying to do. Probably knew more about the situation than most people. I don't have a lot of friends on Facebook. I don't open up my Facebook to the masses. It's just my close family and a few friends. But in that moment, I just wanted to let myself know that I'm going to stand up for myself. Even if that means revealing the deceit of another person. I didn't go into great detail. It's not anybody's business anyway. But I just needed to stand up for myself. I just wanted to stand up for myself. And I'm sure some people might have seen it as petty or overstepping bounds because you're putting something on social media. My social media is set to private. Only my family and few friends can see what I post. But in that moment, I felt like I needed to show myself that I was going to stand up for me for once. I was not going to try to pretend I was not going to remain silent as to put this other person and their possible feelings or whatever above mine. I didn't make these decisions. I didn't make these choices. And the consequences of these decisions and choices are not mine to bear. So last night was very, very difficult for me. After I cried, after I did all of those things, I asked my daughter to come outside with me, and we repotted those 2 plants that I told you earlier in the morning yesterday that it was my goal that I was going to repot those 2 plants. And so we worked together, and even though I needed help, even though I was bent over at the waist with my hands in the bag of potting soil, crying uncontrollably and squeezing the soil in my fists, where I felt like I could not catch my breath. I took that soil, I put it into the pots, and my daughter put the plants into the pots. I put more soil in the pots, more soil in the pots. I turned on that hose and I watered the soil so that my plants would have a bigger space, watered and fresh soil. So that they could breathe, they could expand, they could grow, that they wouldn't feel confined or restricted, choked out. I completed the task that was on my list to do, even though I needed help, because I was not going to let the actions and decisions of another person affect me in such a way that I carried the guilt, the shame, the consequence to where it made me immobile, to where it made me freeze or run. If I had had a vehicle yesterday, I would have been gone. Day 2, God helped me trade in my truck. And I thought that it was a financial blessing, which it was. It lifted a financial burden off of my shoulders. But on day 19, it also kept me from running. My trauma at that moment was so great. I would have just gotten into my vehicle and just driven away. God knew that. And God knew that that was not the way or His plan. I was offered a vehicle. Do you want to borrow the car so you can just go driving for a minute? No. Had it been my vehicle, I would have driven and disappeared. I told you that my family struggles with addiction. Some of them, I'm not saying this in a rude way. They were trying to comfort me in the only way that they knew how. Some of them offered me, hey, do you want to smoke? Meaning, do you want to get high? Do you want to forget about this? I'm offering you comfort. And I know that they did it because they loved me and they were trying to comfort me in any way possible because they knew, based off of my response, the headspace that I was at that moment. And I politely declined. The deceit, lies, and manipulation of this person, even though it was my choice to sin in my anger. I refuse for it to continue to affect my life negatively or to affect me in a way that I choose even more sin. This is what I wrote down. Last night was very, very hard for me. I went to bed early. I tossed and turned a lot, and I talked a lot to God. I asked for forgiveness for sinning in my anger. And I also believe that God helped me. God gave me the strength to get through that night and here today. I decided, okay, maybe I didn't start off correctly. Maybe I made poor choices at the beginning, but that does not mean that I have to spiral and continue to make poor choices now. When I woke up this morning, there was a song playing in my head, and I don't know who sings it, but it says something like, on my best day, I'm a child of God, and on my worst day, I'm a child of God, and on my best day, I'm a child of God. It says, I'm so blessed to have this heartbeat in my chest. Doesn't matter about the rest. That song was playing in my head, and I just stopped for a second to listen. On my best day, I'm a child of God. And on my worst day, I'm a child of God. I am so blessed. I have this heartbeat in my chest. It doesn't matter about the rest. I'm so blessed. That is me today. Yesterday might have been one of my worst days, but I'm still a child of God. It doesn't matter about all the rest. I'm still so very blessed. So this morning I got up because something last night I thought God told me was that, listen, the mountains are going to be brought low. The valleys are going to be raised up. But you need to look to the heavens and look at my vantage point to understand that I know that you feel pain right now. And I know you feel suffering. But in the grand scheme of things, if you look from my viewpoint, all of this is meaningless. My glory will shine. Look from heaven's viewpoint and you will have peace. You will not feel so extreme emotion over this moment of your life if you look from heaven's view. I know God told me that last night. Look from heaven's view, and your pain and suffering will not feel this extreme. So I got up this morning and I said, okay, I did not spend the last 19 days, over 19 days, in therapy, doing codependency counseling apps, reading my Bible and praying to God and doing these videos for nothing. I am not going to spiral. I am not going to be that former person. I am going to take the knowledge that God has given to me, the tools that I have been equipped with, and I am going to move forward. Maybe I got tripped up. Maybe I allowed my emotions to take control for a moment. But this is not over, and that was one moment. So this is what I wrote down. I started writing down things that I remembered from the therapy, that I remembered from the tools from the app, that I remembered from the study of Genesis and the prayers that we've been praying together and my discussion and my conversations with God. Yesterday, when I was so emotional and angry, I seriously, in my mind, thought, I just want to go outside and punch a tree where this emotion would release, and I want to see that tree fly into the air like a Marvel movie. And I'm so sincere when I say that. I had that emotion. I just wanted to punch something and see it fly into the air. What I wrote down